Greetings, dear viewers. This is the Krasnota channel. In this episode, I want to tell you about the history of the crazy experimental ELF motorcycles. So make yourselves comfortable. Let's get started. ELF motorcycles are a vivid example of what can happen when a race car developer takes on the task. But let's start a little further back. The history of the ELF company can be traced back to 1939, and at first it belonged to the French government. This organization was involved in oil and everything related to it. The industry was profitable, and the company's position steadily strengthened over time. If we turn on a broadcast of any car or motorcycle race, we'll notice that most of the vehicles are covered with logos of various sponsors, many of which are fuel companies. Racing is excellent advertising for such brands. However, ELF went a bit further. So in 1972, the French oil giant partnered with Renault and began participating in car racing. And here comes a talented French engineer, André de Courtons, who graduated as an engineer in 1967. And after joining the company Alpine, he started designing racing cars, the 7072 for ELF. Renault worked on racing car prototypes, a 500 RS01, and Alpine a 442, which won the race at Le Mans. However, Enrifa was interested not only in four-wheeled vehicles, but also in motorcycles. Cartanza voiced his ideas. François Guet, who at that time was the head of ELF's marketing department and also a passionate fan of car and motorcycle racing, gave him financial support. That's how ELF motorcycles actually appeared. The first product of the partnership between ELF and André was the ELF X motorcycle, which was presented to the public at the 1977 Paris Motor Show. X stood for experimental. It was the embodiment of Cartanza's ideas and experience in metal and plastic. The engineer's philosophy was based on the following principles: reducing the overall weight of the motorcycle and lowering its center of gravity, using unique suspension systems, primarily motorcycle suspensions, especially during the acceleration and braking, using the engine as a structural element, achieving perfect weight distribution on both wheels, and enabling quick wheel changes during pit stops. André replaced the front fork with a dual parallel arm suspension, and at the rear, he installed a single-sided swing arm with a cantilever wheel mount. However, the most interesting thing was that the motorcycle didn't have a frame as such. The main load-bearing element became the four-cylinder two-stroke engine from the Yamaha TZ750. The layout was also revolutionary. For example, the fuel tank was located under the engine to lower the center of gravity. Testing at the Nagara track began in 1978, and for the role of the rider, the team invited Michel Ruggeri, the vice world champion in the 250cc class. The motorcycle's concept turned out to be difficult to handle. The ELF X didn't corner well, but it had excellent straight-line stability. However, the Yamaha engine did not fit the requirements for the stressed element of the motorcycle structure. The project's prospects turned out to be very uncertain. One person saved the situation: a legendary figure in the motorcycle world. At the 1978 Paris Motor Show, the ELF X was on display. And this part of the exhibition was closely and intently watched by 72-year-old Seiichiro Honda. Honda was so impressed by the design that in 1979, the Japanese held test runs with their test rider and were amazed by the revolutionary ideas of the French designer. As a result, nothing could prevent the cooperation between Honda and ELF anymore. The guys decided that Honda would supply the 1000cc RSC endurance engine, and the people from Carcassonne would do everything else. That's how the ELF E model appeared.
No rider becomes an expert overnight. First, you learn from experienced riders.
Need help?
Investing can work the same way. Meet eToro, a multi-assets investment platform where you can follow top investors, view their portfolios, and even copy their trades automatically. Join real-time market conversations with ideas, trends, and questions as events unfold. And all of that connects to a wide range of assets, including stocks, crypto, ETFs, and more, all in one platform. eToro is a regulated service with over 40 million users across more than 75 countries. Start investing with eToro and get $50 worth of stock when you deposit $200 or more. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code and get your $50 worth of stock now. Join the largest social investments platform and learn from the pros. Now, back to the video.
Elf E debuted at the Boldor race in 1981 and took part in all the rounds of the World Endurance Championship. However, the situation was overshadowed by frequent retirements due to unreliability. The motorcycle was improved and it took third place in the TTI endurance race in Mugello in 1983. And then, with a special fairing, the motorcycle set 6 world speed records at the Nardo track in Italy in 1986. The peak speed reached 321 kilometers per hour. In 1983, the era of 1,000cc motorcycles in endurance racing ended, and at Elf, they decided to break into the prestigious world of Grand Prix racing. Honda supported their decision and provided the first RS500 engines. Thus, in 1984, the Elf 2 model appeared, also known by the nickname Blackbird. The motorcycle received an experimental steering system, in which the rider controlled the motorcycle by either pushing or pulling the handlebars. Unfortunately, the motorcycle did not participate in any races. During the initial tests, it became clear that the design was not very practical. The riders were not only too focused on controlling the bike, but the system itself was overly sensitive. A year later, a modernized version, the Elf 2A, appeared with traditional steering. It's a pity, but at that very moment, de Courtens was forced to withdraw from the Elf project due to pressure from his new employer, Peugeot, where he was developing rally cars. After Henri left, François Gite asked racing manager Serge Rosse and engineer Dan Trem to develop a less radical concept. This prototype became the Elf 3 in 1986. British racer Ron Haslam raced on the Elf 3 in 1986 and then switched to the Elf 4 in 1987. He earned his first point at the World Championship in Jarama, won in Macau in 1986, and finished 4th overall in the 1987 season. It became clear that the project was viable. Therefore, Elf and Honda reached a specific agreement to transfer patents for use in the design of production motorcycles. And already in 1987, the first production Honda WFR 750 with an Elf-type single-sided swing arm debuted. Elf 4 was a further development of Elf 3. It received the Honda NSR 500 V4 engine, but got a completely unsuccessful carbon fiber chassis and a lot of technical problems. By the 1988 season, the motorcycle had to be significantly improved. It was named Elf 5. At the end of the season, the racing team finished 11th, which was a disappointment. September 17, 1988, marked the end of an era. After the Elf racing motorcycle crossed the finish line of the last race of the season, a decade of exciting experiments came to an end. François Gite retired, and Henri Descartes had already been working at Peugeot for several years. The story of the Elf motorcycle ended, but this story served as an inspiration for engineers and designers around the world, proving that revolutionary developments are viable. This brings my story to an end. Thank you very much for your attention. As always, you've been watching CrossMoto. You can support my work with your activity. Subscriptions, comments, and reposts are highly encouraged. See you next time.